AEW bringing back its ranking system. There's a backstage update on WWE and AEW interest in Kamille. There's also a spoiler on a former WWE star who appeared at this weekend's TNA TV tapings, and a former champion bids farewell to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hello and welcome to the Soul Sunday News, here with myself, Andrew Pollard, at What Culture Wrestling. I hope you're well, I hope you're good, I hope you're having a great weekend. And now let's get into some wrestling chatter. And first and foremost, AEW is bringing back an old staple. Yes, the ranking system is to return. Tony Khan announced this on X last night. It was also announced on AEW Collision last night. The ranking system, that was a big deal. That was a big part of the AEW product before it even launched. It was announced, AEW launched in 2019, and prior to that launch, AEW announced as part of a sports-based approach, they would have a ranking system in place, which it's a great idea. It was a really fun idea. It's like, oh my God, that's kind of cool. Wins and losses automatically matter because rankings, you can climb the rankings, you can drop the rankings. There's this, as mentioned, the sports-based approach. It's a way to establish title contenders and throw up some shocks, some surprises. And it worked really well at times. And then other times, yeah, not so much so, because it got to a point in 2022 where AEW just kind of quietly stopped paying attention to the ranking system, but the ranking system was still in place. So it just looked stupid. There was a particular time with FTR t-shirt there, repping the boys, Dax and Cash. But yes, there was a point in time where FTR were like the number one ranked team, but for the tag team titles, but like every other team seemed to get a title shot, and it went on for weeks, and it just makes no sense. And then, of course, the rankings just disappeared. They stopped being a thing. That was towards the end of 2022. In fact, the latest rankings here, because the rankings are still up on AEW's website. The most recent rankings are the 31st of August, 2022, where, do you know who the number one contender is for the men's world title? CM Punk. Yes, John Moxley is shown as the AEW World Champion, Thunder Rosa as the AEW Women's Champion, Jade Cargill, of course, in WWE now as the TBS Champion, Wardlow as the TNT Champion, Pac as the All-Atlantic Champion, which is a title belt that doesn't even exist anymore because it's been replaced by the International title. And also the long-defunct Swerve in Our Glory, such an awful name, ridiculous, are the AEW Tag Team titles, according to the rankings, the most recent rankings on the AEW website. So, to me, the ranking system coming back, it could be great. Of course, it's very much, it could be, because it all depends how things are handled from here on out. Obviously, if they're bringing this back, they're going to emphasize it in a major way from the get-go. Now, in terms of when it's coming back, Tony Khan said it'll be back in place by January, by the end of January. So we're on the 21st of January there, as I look at my clock on my computer here. So expect them back immediately, imminently. And let us know in the comments whether you think the ranking system can work, whether you think it'll make improvements to AEW, or whether you think it might hinder AEW. Let us know in those comments. Be nice. It's a Sunday. We're all here for some fun and some wrestling fun. Moving on to our next topic, and it's Kamille. One of the biggest, hottest free agents in the game right now is Kamille, the former NWA Women's World Champion. Previously, it had been noted that WWE had interest in her, and she was also backstage at AEW Dynamite last Wednesday. Now, that visit to AEW Dynamite was said to just be simply a case of visiting friends, because she's relatively local to the area. I believe she's from one of the Carolinas, and Dynamite was in one of the Carolinas. So there we go. Specifics from me on a Sunday. But yes, now Fightful Select have added to that said that while Kamille was indeed backstage at AEW, she also spoke to several people of influence, which of course will stoke rumors that she could well end up being #All Elite. Added to that, this report also notes that WWE made overtures to sign her in recent weeks. Of course, there was speculation that WWE had interest in bringing Kamille in and putting her in the NXT brand, which I think would be a really good fit. I know some people might expect it to go straight to the main roster, but I think this is somebody that only began wrestling in 2017. A bulk of her career was spent during a pandemic, where obviously wrestling wasn't as frequent a thing, especially for NWA talents. And so I think she's only 30 years of age. I think NXT would be a great way to introduce her to the WWE audience. Just have a good assessment of her, maybe just a short kind of 6-month stint there, maybe a year, and then bring it up to the main roster. But of course, she could end up in AEW. Now, this is somebody who held the NWA Women's World title for over 800 days, defeating Serena Deeb in, when was that? 2020, middle of 2020? I believe it was middle of 2020. And then she went on to defend it against kind of TV names that people know, like Chelsea Green, like Layla Hirsch, like Melina, like Taryn Terrell, Taya Valkyrie, Allysin Kay, of course, a former NWA Women's World Champion as well. So as it stands, Kamille last worked in November, and she essentially turned down the option to take up an option to extend her AEW contract by 6 months, and instead is now exploring free agency. And I think it's a fun get to whoever gets it, whether it is WWE, whether it is AEW, whether it is Impact Wrestling. Sorry, TNA. I'm getting there. TNA Wrestling. By the way, TNA, the first episode of the new television show under the rebranded name. Great. A whole lot of fun. Hard to Kill. Absolutely fantastic show. Go and check out TNA. It's absolutely killing it right now. But yes, wherever Kamille ends up, I think it'll be a fun get. People will talk about Mercedes Moné. People will talk about Julia. And in terms of free agents, I think Camille's it's a really interesting one to see where she goes. Now, speaking of TNA Wrestling, this is a spoiler now for an upcoming episode of TNA TV. This weekend's TV tapings saw Big Damo appear, as in the former Killian Dane, yes, once of Sanity. Now, if you've not been keeping up with TNA, Frankie Kazarian, Eric Young have been teaming. Last week, this just past week on TV, saw Kaz turn on Eric Young after they lost against the grizzled young veterans. And how cool is it to see GYV back? Yes, as the grizzled young veterans. None of that dyad dross. No, man, it's good to see those guys back and absolutely killing it. But yes, after EY and Kaz lost to GYV, there was an attack on Eric Young from Kazarian. And so this weekend's TV tapings saw basically, obviously, Eric Young out for some sort of redemption, some revenge. Redemption, is that even the word? Revenge, we'll go with, on Kaz. And Kazarian said that, the only way I'll give you a match is if you, what was the term I saw floated around? Banish the ghost of your past. And out came Big Damo, Killian Dane, who, of course, was in Sanity, which was led by Eric Young. Eric Young did get the win, and we'll see where this story goes next. But it's an interesting one with Big Damo, because he's a very talented dude who could have done a lot more in WWE. And I think if maybe he ends up in TNA for a little while, if this is the start of a run, if it's a one-off, hey, it's a great little one-off. But to me, I think if I'm TNA Wrestling, I'm looking at him and thinking, yeah, we can do something with this guy. But then I think that for any of the promotions, because Big Damo Killian Dane is a great talent. Now, of course, Sanity was formed back in 2016 in NXT. Originally, Eric Young, Sawyer Fulton, Alexander Wolf and Nikki Cross. Sawyer Fulton will leave, shortly be replaced by Killian Dane. And that group, they get up to the main roster. They would, as many NXT talents have over the years, they were done dirty on the main roster, quietly split up. And then pretty much most of the people involved will let go from the company, apart from Nikki Cross. Big Damo's no stranger to TNA because he wrestled for the company back in 2016 as part of their UK tour. Wrestled 3 matches, 2 of which were actually won by Eric Young. There we go, throwing out some trivia for you on this Solo Sunday News. And one last story before we get to your questions. Tama Tonga has said his farewells, emotional farewells in New Japan Pro Wrestling. This was yesterday at New Japan's New Beginning Nagoya show, where he went in as the never openweight champion against Evil, lost that title to Evil, a whole bunch of interference. In fact, at one point, the match was ruled a double disqualification. Tama, the fighting champion babyface, didn't want that match to go down like that, so he restarted the match, demanded the match be restarted, and then he lost because, again, more interference. In fact, it was Ren Narita who hit him from the back, and then Evil pinned him 1, 2, 3. Evil now the new never openweight champion, which I'm sure lots of people will be very thrilled about. But yes, I think going into this match, I think pretty sure everybody who keeps up with New Japan Pro Wrestling was expecting Tama to drop that title, because at Wrestle Kingdom 18 earlier this month, he announced plans that at the end of January, he will be finishing up with New Japan. So after this match against Evil, Tama got the microphone, did an emotional farewell, thanked the fans, and bowed for the crowd there. And yeah, it looks like Tama Tonga is now done with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I did see some scuttling rumors out there, some rumblings that he may work a couple of dates more, so we'll have to see on that. But for all intents and purposes, Tama is done with New Japan Pro Wrestling. His deal, I believe, is finishing up at the end of January. And then this is the question now of, like, what is next for Tama Tonga? This is somebody who's spent the best part of 14 years in New Japan Pro Wrestling, 14 years living in Japan, traveling back into Japan. He's a founding member of Bullet Club. Yes, Bullet Club has had its highs and its lows over the years, but at its best, Tama Tonga's been there right in the middle of it all. So it's an interesting one again with this, because last year there was reports that WWE had extremely strong interest in Tama Tonga, and you'd imagine that the interest is probably still there, because not much has changed. In fact, it was because WWE, of course, had that essentially a freeze on hiring talent. And Tama Tonga seems to have been maybe one of them where, just from, this is me spitballing, but from reading between the lines and reading the stories last year, it seemed that Triple H was really keen on Tama Tonga, but the company was like, yeah, but we're not really hiring anybody, so yeah, unlucky. So now, obviously, with Triple H in full control creatively, and having lots of say and lots of sway, and also the fact that WWE are hiring people again, you'd imagine that interest is going to be there. You'd also imagine, though, there will be strong interest as well from AEW. There's probably going to be strong interest from TNA Wrestling. And Tama Tonga is just, I feel right now he's one of those people where he can have his pick of wherever he wants to go. Now, he's already said his reasoning for departing New Japan Pro Wrestling was that just simply he wanted to spend more time at home. He wanted to be closer to home. He wanted to spend more time with his family, which is absolutely completely understandable, especially when this is somebody who, as mentioned, spent 14 years back and forth to Japan. So yeah, that's one to keep an eye on. And I think whoever, maybe I always get told off being too positive, but maybe I'm too positive, but I'm just going to say it again, the same thing I've said about Kamille. Whoever gets Tama Tonga, it's a great get. Right, let's get to your questions. Where are we? Hector Garcia the third's got in touch. Hey Hector, hello Culture Left Back, that'd be me. Happy Solo Sunday, happy Sunday to you, Hector. When wrestlers work in other promotions, are the booking decisions solely up to the host organization, or does it depend on the stature of the wrestler, i.e. Moxley in GCW? I assume TK has the last call on a result. I think it varies with various talents. When, say for instance, you've got one of your massive stars going to promotion, if you're I was going to say the owner of that person, but if you're the owner of that person's contract, you're the primary base of that person, the primary organization behind that person, if that makes sense. So basically, if you're Tony Khan and you've got Moxley going to GCW or somewhere, yeah, you're going to want, because Moxley's such a major star, you're going to want him to look as strong as possible. So ideally, you're going to want him to win. There are going to be circumstances where maybe the talent will say, like, look, no, I know you want me to win. I've got to look strong for AEW, but I really want to put this guy over or this girl over or whatever, or I'm doing the favors back. It's like when Bryan Danielson wrestled at Wrestle Kingdom 18. We all, well, I'd say most people going into that knew that Danielson was going to lose because, I mean, you're not going to have Kazuchika Okada go to AEW and tap out. That's it. Danielson tapped out Okada. That just really does not happen at all. That's very rare. So you're not going to have someone like Okada going tap out to Danielson and then in a rematch, you're not going to kind of like go, yeah, okay, we'll give you that, but we're going to have that match come back on our terms and our guy's going to win. So yeah, it depends on the talent. Right, Andy McManus has got in touch. Hey Andy, should WWE have kept the reveal of Pete Dunne until the Royal Rumble? I think it would have gotten some pop. I love Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne's brilliant. I'd imagine yourself, Andy, you are a fan of Pete Dunne too, and I imagine lots of people watching this are a fan of Pete Dunne. For me, I don't think it would have. I mean, it would have got a nice pop at the Royal Rumble. I don't think it would have been a major deal. Pete Dunne, Butch being rebranded as Pete Dunne, is very nice. I like it. It's great. I'm happy to see it. But I don't think it's a major deal in the sense of like, oh my God, the crowd's going to lose its mind when number 7 pops up at the Royal Rumble and Pete Dunne comes on the. I'd lose my mind if he went back to his old theme tune. That's the one bit I'm hoping for, but I don't think we're going to be getting that. But yeah, I'm okay with it happening on SmackDown. If it happened at the Rumble, great. Reese Macy's got in touch. If Seth misses Mania, do you think Brock versus Punk for the belt could be on the card? And would Brock do the job for Phil? Brock would do the job for Phil. Brock would do the job for Drew Gulak if the money was right. And I like Drew Gulak. That's no disrespect to him. Just think of somebody a little bit lower on the totem pole. I think Brock Lesnar is one of them. He's at the point in his career now where you're paying me. What do you want me to do? You want me to lose to CM Punk? Great, no worries. Nice one. I'll take my check and I'm gonna fly back to Canada and go hunting. That's the Brock Lesnar formula these days. As for Brock versus Punk, I kind of feel like, no, I was having this discussion with a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and I think that if Seth has to miss WrestleMania and you still want CM Punk going after that world title, the world heavyweight title, the Raw title, to me, I think somehow, some way, you get to Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. I think that's the next logical step. I think Brock Lesnar, ideally, I want Brock Lesnar and Gunther. So as well, I'm thinking of that because I'm being very selfish and just give me Brock and Gunther. I'll be very happy with that. So yeah, for me, I would, if Seth's not able, I'd try and get Drew in there, and I'd probably end night 1 with a cash in from Damian Priest. Andy Brennan's got in touch. I'm going to try and get through these quickly because rambling, Sunday, caffeinated. When does Jeff Hardy retire, or does he live the gimmick and just keep going like on Rampage versus Darby and keep it all in the ring until his body says no more? He's my favorite, but I just want him to slow down. I mean, his body's been telling him no more for a long old time with Jeff Hardy. One of the greats, just such an innovator. Just people talk about the it factor, that the charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy, all of that. Amazing talent, brilliant talent. I feel bad saying it because, again, massive Jeff Hardy fan. But it's just, I don't need to see Jeff Hardy these days on my TV. I mean, I can see him on TV. I don't need to see him. It's hard to watch the matches for both the Hardys and it's only because they've done so much over the years. They put their bodies on the line so many times. So it's like, but you can clearly see the impact that's had, and their work style is a lot slower, it's a lot clunkier. Those swantons look absolutely brutal for whoever is taking them now. There's no pulling up. It's just Jeff Hardy's coming down here, bang, that's it. So, I mean, I think Jeff Hardy will wrestle for as long as Jeff Hardy wants to wrestle. I think Jeff Hardy will be one of those people who will wrestle for as long as he can, whether that's just in a independent show in front of 50 people or whether that's on a pay-per-view in front of 50,000 people. I think Jeff will carry on. I don't think there'll be any particular retirement with him unless something major happens where his body just stops. The one to Alan Taylor, when if Kenny Omega comes back to AEW, should the story be the Young Bucks using their executive powers to strip Kenny of his position and have him be an employee contractor, turning the story into the classic worker fights evil bosses? I think that's a really fun idea. The only thing, not a problem I have with it, but the only issue I think would be where are the Young Bucks when Kenny comes back? Because I mean, the stuff going on with Kenny Omega, the diverticulitis. He's not had any operations yet because it's still such a delicate situation that he can't have surgery by all accounts, recent reports. And there's just this indefinite uncertainty on when he will be able to come back. So, I mean, again, I have no inside information on this, but you could be talking maybe, a year. And if that was the case, would the Young Bucks be in those same characters in a year's time? Who knows? I mean, hopefully all the best with Kenny and hopefully he's back in the ring ASAP, but first and foremost, just get himself sorted, take whatever recovery time he needs. But yeah, so I think the idea, if it's possible, I think that would be great, where you have Kenny as the kind of the babyface EVP who's kind of banished and has to go against the evil Bucks. I think that'd be really, really fun. Nick Johnson, who would your top 3 picks be to face Adam in the Copeland Open Challenge? Hook. Hook. Absolute Ricky Starks. And I mean, Swerve Strickland, but that feels like a big deal. Save that for TV. So could Ricky. Save that for pay-per-view. So could Ricky Starks, though. So could Hook. One intriguing one with Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston. There's a lot of possibilities. Then you try and look with the open challenges. You look maybe at some of the younger guys. So obviously Garcia is one. Darby Allin, people like that. There's a lot of potential with this. Right, last question from Rob Atkinson. Morning, Andrew. Hell has frozen over, and a co-event between AEW and WWE is happening. You've been allowed to create one match. Which is your own personal dream match? Who have you got? It's a simple answer. It's Kenny Omega. It's CM Punk. It's the match that should have happened. It's the match that would have made a whole load of money for AEW. It's a match that would have brought a whole load of interest, would have drove TV ratings, would have brought in so many people, so many eyes. But no, that couldn't happen. That's the one with me. And especially, it seems like the issues between Punk and Kenny weren't actually that bad. It's mainly the Punk and the Bucks that was the issue. So yeah, alas, we didn't get that. So I would do that. I do Kenny Omega, I do CM Punk. I'm going to throw in a couple of extra matches because I want to do a women's match. So I go with Rhea Ripley versus fit and healthy Jamie Hayter. And let's do a tag match. FTR versus DIY. Run that back. Some absolutely phenomenal matches over the years. Right, that has been it. There'll be another video here. Click on that for more ramblings. I've been Andrew Powell for What Culture Wrestling. This has been the Solo Sunday News. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you soon.